Welcome back to Newcastle Narrated. In this episode, we're going to explore the history of the Dutch house and the people that lived in it. The Dutch house is typical of a more well-off family of the middling sort. And indeed, an artisan family, the Silsbys, made their home here for 4 generations during the 18th century. The Silsbys did well compared to many of their middle-class peers. Many rented their homes, which were typically a single room in a larger building. But the Silsbys owned the Dutch house. Even its lot was considered a prime location. It proved practical for artisans like the Silsbys to make their homes near the marketplace, on what is now known as the Green. We'll return to the Silsbys in just a minute. First, we want to tell you a little bit more about an artisan's life in the 18th century. Many artisans lived where they worked, and the Dutch house, too, is believed to have had a workshop on its lot in the past. An artisan's work was very different from the wage labor we now associate with the making of goods, and entire families would be active in the production process. As industrialization took place around the world, many artisans would find their profits falling, and over time, nearly all manufacturing would take place in factories by wage laborers. Artisans also took on apprentices. These arrangements resembled indentured servitude in the 18th century. Depending on their skills and opportunity, artisans could potentially work their way up a ladder, from apprentice to journeyman, and maybe even to master. While merchants also chipped away at artisans' profits in large settlements like Philadelphia, rural artisans generally saw greater opportunity, as was generally the case in the lower counties of Pennsylvania or modern-day Delaware. Along the Chesapeake, similar to southern Delaware, planters used these skilled trades to diversify their profits, and enslaved people were increasingly trained as blacksmiths and cordwainers, among other trades. Now back to the Silsbys. Daniel Silsby Jr., a blacksmith, first bought the Dutch house around 1708. Many artisans struggled to make ends meet, with incomes of around 40 to 60 pounds and household expenses eating up most, if not all, of that income. Around half a dozen homes similar in size to the Dutch house existed on the same street. The professions of those living along the street included a blacksmith, a bricklayer, a woodcutter, and a wheelwright. But Newcastle would have needed many more, such as carpenters, chandlers, coopers, tailors, painters, innkeepers, and others. This house was passed down for 4 generations of the Silsby family, eventually being divided in half by heirs with equal shares in the estate, who in turn rented out the property and ultimately sold it in 1810. A lot goes into making a town, and the Dutch house was in the middle of it all. The many people who called this house home over the years all played unique roles in the commercial life of Newcastle and beyond. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we will talk about the many changes the house underwent during its history and the ideas that influenced these changes.